What's going on, y'all? We're here in the indoor garage today, also called the basement. Here in front of the Nissan. It's a 97 240 SX. She's been sitting here very similar to this, without the engine in her though, for a little over a year now. Took a little while at the machine shop. Took a little while to get parts. Not much we can do about it. So we'll take a look at where I'm at right here. I don't really like bringing you guys in mid-project, but I just had the old epiphany, why not share some knowledge with you guys out there? If I can do it, y'all can. It's just research, a little time, not afraid to take something apart. That's all it really is. But we'll take a look at what's going on in here, explain to you what I'm going to be doing today, and hopefully I won't run into any problems. Alright, today we're going to be working on timing chain tensioners. We got the upper tensioner right here. We've got the lower tensioner. You can kind of see it, maybe you can see the top of it if I can get it to focus. It's down in here. We've got the lower timing cover loose, just kind of blocked in place by the old bracket for the air conditioning pump right here. The old engineers at Nissan didn't think about the folks that are going to be working on these things, so I got to finish getting this bracket off. AC compressor's already disconnected, power steering pump's already disconnected, so we got to get the bracket off so that we can get this lower timing cover off and get at that lower timing tensioner right there. The tensioners that are in it right now came from Aisin. They are an original equipment manufacturer for Nissan, but I'm sure these are not new tensioners. I'm sure they're a remanufactured version. I don't know if something happened in the remanufacture process. Maybe tolerances on the oil galleys a little out of spec, but just doesn't seem to be keeping appropriate tension on the chain. It was rattling a little bit when we fired her back up and did the old bench break-in on her. But that's what we're going to be after today. We've got the alternator. It would normally be sitting right here, and it's sitting over on the bench over there. Got one hose back in there. It's going to be kind of difficult to get to. Get the oil line out of the way, and you can see the clamp for it right there. Can be hard to get at, but with the alternator out of the way, maybe we can get to it. Got things taped up. Intake just to keep dust out of. Intercooler plumbing on both sides. And then the old hot pipe outlet over there off of the turbo. Bring you guys in on that too. Down in there we got a Garrett GT 2871R. It's considered an upgrade turbo for the RB series of Nissan engines as well as the SR series. We're only turning about 5,800. That's where we drop off torque on the old truck motor here, ka24de. Lots of torque out of her. She started her life at 155 horsepower and 160 foot-pounds of torque, being naturally aspirated. And at the 8 pounds of boost that we added with the old turbo, we managed to get that up to about 297 horse at the flywheel, 265 at the wheels, and roughly 310 foot-pounds of torque at the flywheel, being 270 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. Well, I'm going to get back to work on this thing, see if I can't get that timing cover off, the bracket off. I'll probably do some grinding on that bracket. All that little mount for right there is to hold the tensioner pulley for the air conditioning. So I don't think that's necessarily got to be quite that beefy. We'll see if we can't shave that down a little bit in case we have to get back into this lower timing cover. Maybe not have to go through so much work to get it off. Well, I'm going to get back at it. Alright, we've got the lower timing cover off here. You can see the crank sticking out there, and you've got your oil pump gear right there. Got the new lower tensioner in here. We got the new upper tensioner in here, both straight from Nissan. We've got to be careful about this head gasket poking through here, not to mess it up while we're working in here. We've got the power steering pump back on. We've got the AC compressor back on down at the bottom there. Did a little grinding on the side of this tensioner bracket for the AC compressor, and we can get the lower timing cover on and off by that now. So make that a little easier for future teardowns if we ever need to. Hopefully we won't, but you never know. messing with these things and modifying on them, just never know what you're going to get into. Did manage to get that hose off. I was able to get to that screw from underneath where the alternator used to sit in this hole here. And hose pliers come in real handy for getting things like that off. If you guys don't know what hose pliers are, that's a hose plier. Just open her up, clamp her on your hose, and push or pull her off. Keeps you from beating up on the old hands. Kind of like I did over here on this other one. We got a casualty. Not even from working on the car. That was from breaking down a table that I used outside to grind on the old tensioner bracket there. I don't like to do any grinding in the basement when I've got an engine open like this. Throws a lot of metal around, and don't want to risk getting that metal down in the engine and causing some problems later on down the road. So I set it up outside and cut my wrist in the process of breaking that back down. I'm going to get back to work scraping on the gasket surfaces here on the side of the block and on the lower and upper timing covers over on the bench. Just clean some of that stuff up so we get a good seal when we put it back on. We've got the upper and lower timing covers back on, oil pans back on. I've had them sitting here for a little while now, letting the old liquid gasket set up, the RTV. It's a good idea to let that stuff set up for a little while, you know, 45 minutes to an hour, finger tight, just so it kind of set up. And I'm going to go in and torque everything back down to spec. Yeah, I'm a torque guy. Go by the specs in the owner's manual, or factory service manual, that is, not the owner's manual. Once I get all that torque back down, we'll stick the alternator back in her hole over here, get the valve cover put back on, get the distributor put back in the hole over here, get all the turbo plumbing put back on, and hopefully get her fired up. I know you guys are wanting to see that, so I'll try and make quick work of it, get it back together so we can get a start up on her. We're plumb back up here on the Nissan. Got the cold pipe hooked up to the intake and the intercooler pipe down there. Got our breather hooked back up, top of the valve cover there, down into the catch can down in there. Got all the water lines hooked back up, supply and return for the turbo. Got all our wiring done, got all of our hot pipe side done. Bypass valve hooked up, recirculating into the intake. Seeing as how we're using a mass airflow sensor still on this one. Just doing the piggyback thing for now, till we can figure out what kind of standalone engine management system we want to use. Got the hot pipe plugged in here to the turbo outlet. So I guess we're ready for a fire up. Ready to see if this one will breathe some fire for us. Hopefully the battery's still charged. It's been sitting for a while. Had a few issues with that on the first startup, but hopefully she'll fire up. Might hear some rattling coming from the timing chain until the oil pressure builds up. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But I'll get you guys set up and y'all can watch what happens. Hopefully she'll fire up pretty easy. We had it set at top dead center before we took it apart, make it a little easier to put back together. So hopefully things will go smoothly here. Here goes nothing. Like I said, here goes nothing. That's exactly what we got. See if we can't figure out what's going on. Well, set her back to top dead center after the no start. Took off the hot pipe, pulled the distributor out, made sure we were set back in the right place there, and it turns out we were off a tooth on the distributor. That'll keep her from running, you know, that little mistake there that I made. We're going to give it a shot again. Maybe she'll breathe some fire again for the second time since the rebuild. But got the computer set up in there on the passenger seat so I can monitor things and make sure our AFRs and everything are still good. But here goes nothing again. hopefully something this time. Well, we got fire. I guess now I'll probably fire her back up, let her run a little while, warm up, let her cough on the old Kool-Aid pitcher here, burp, so to speak, get the air out of the system, make sure we don't overheat when we get back out on the road. That's it for this time. Next time I'll be setting you guys up in the car with me. We'll be looking at some of the tuning aspects of it, setting our RPM back up. You know, she sat for about a year and 2 months, so that's off a little bit in the calibration on the fuel and ignition controller that we're using. So we'll be adjusting that. We'll be working on the idle air-fuel ratios, and then we'll get out on the road and try dialing her back in a little bit before we get to the dyno. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Until next time, don't take no wooden nickels, and be good. Somebody's got to.